who's actually going to get the most out of this HP 15.6-inch touchscreen laptop? If you're a business professional who also likes to unwind with a few indie titles or fast-paced shooters, it might feel like a sweet spot. If you're a hardcore gamer chasing 144Hz frames in the latest AAA releases, you'll probably be left frustrated. And for the everyday buyer wondering whether the price tag justifies the specs, the answer hinges on how often you'll push the machine to its limits. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first saw this model, the headline 13th Gen Intel, 32GB RAM, 1TB SSD made me think it could be a decent all-day workhorse that also dabbles in gaming. My own workflow is a mix of spreadsheets, video calls, and occasional side project coding, so I wanted to see how it would handle that blend plus a bit of gaming after hours. I spent a couple of evenings running a few titles that sit in the middle of the performance curve: Valorant, Fortnite on medium settings, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider at low-mid settings, while also keeping a few heavy browser tabs and a virtual machine running. That real-world stress test gave me a clearer picture than any spec sheet could. First off, the performance core. The 13th Gen Intel i7-15150U is a 10-core chip that delivers smooth multitasking for office apps, web browsing, and light content creation. With 32GB of RAM, you can have dozens of Chrome tabs, a Photoshop document, and a Teams meeting open without noticeable lag. The 1TB NVMe SSD boots Windows in under 10 seconds, and loading large files feels instantaneous. For a business environment, that speed translates to less time waiting and more time delivering. Now, gaming. The laptop relies on Intel's Iris-Xe integrated graphics, which are a big step up from older integrated solutions but still far from a dedicated RTX card. In Valorant, I consistently hit around 80 to 90 frames per second at the native 1080p resolution, which is perfectly playable on the 60Hz panel. Fortnite dropped to the low 60s on medium graphics, and Tomb Raider struggled to stay above 30 frames per second even with most settings turned down. If your gaming habit is limited to esports titles or indie games that aren't graphically demanding, you'll be fine. Anything that pushes for ray tracing or ultra-high textures will force you to lower expectations dramatically. Heat and fan noise are the next practical concerns. Under sustained load, think a long gaming session or rendering a video, the laptop's cooling system kicks in noticeably. The fans ramp up to a whirring level that you can hear if you're wearing headphones, and the chassis gets warm to the touch around the keyboard area. It's not an unbearable racket, but it does become a distraction if you're trying to focus on a conference call while the GPU is working. For short bursts of intensive work, the thermal response is acceptable, but it won't stay whisper quiet for hours of high-end gaming. Keyboard feel matters a lot for both work and play. HP's Island-style keys have a shallow travel that feels responsive for typing, though they lack the tactile punch some mechanical enthusiasts crave. The backlight is a single-zone white, which is adequate for low-light environments but not customizable. In a gaming context, the key spacing is comfortable enough for quick inputs, but you won't get the same level of feedback you'd find on a dedicated gaming keyboard. Battery life is where the trade-off shows up clearly. On a typical workday, email, spreadsheets, video calls, the 52Wh battery managed roughly 6 to 7 hours, which is respectable for a 15.6-inch laptop with a bright IPS panel. Once the screen turned touchscreen mode on, the draw increased slightly, shaving off another half hour. When I switched to Fortnite and played for 30 minutes, the battery dropped from 90% to 70% almost instantly. That's a clear sign that gaming will drain the pack quickly, so you'll need the charger handy if you plan to game away from a power outlet. Portability is a mixed bag. The 15.6-inch form factor keeps the device sizable enough for a comfortable typing experience and a decent viewing area, but the addition of a touchscreen adds a few millimeters and a bit of extra weight, landing the laptop around 4.2 pounds. It's still easy enough to slide into a standard backpack, yet you'll feel the difference compared to a slimmer 13-inch Ultrabook. If you travel frequently and need a light bag, you might prefer a smaller chassis with a non-touch display.